You're on the deck of the Titanic. It's April 14, 1912, 11:40 p.m. The night is cold. The ocean is calm. You're here as a second-class passenger, enjoying the luxury of the unsinkable ship. You hear a soft thud, a vibration. Nothing serious, you think, but in the next 2 hours and 40 minutes, everything you know will change. Everyone knows the Titanic hit an iceberg, but what you don't know is what really happened next. You're about to experience the deadliest night of your life through my eyes, and trust me, it's not what Hollywood told you. The world knows a lot about the Titanic, but most of it is wrong. Let me walk you through the myths and the horrifying truths. First myth everyone believes: the Titanic sank completely. But you're there when it happens, and here's what you actually see. The ship doesn't sink as one piece. The ship breaks in two. The bow section breaks off and plunges downward at a sickening angle. The stern section, where you're standing, rises up into the air. You're now 90 degrees vertical. Your feet slip. You're holding on to railings for your life. The front and rear sections sink separately into the darkness, 4 kilometers deep. James Cameron's film showed this correctly, but most people never believed it was possible. Second myth: the orchestra played while the ship sank. You hear the music, violins, cellos. The band is actually playing as people panic around them. That part is true. But what you don't see in the movies is that the orchestra stops in the final moments. They keep playing until the water reaches them. All 8 musicians die. Their names are forgotten. Their sacrifice goes unrecognized in the history books. Third myth: men immediately put women and children into lifeboats. You're watching from the deck, and here's what actually happens. In the first 30 minutes, they're loading men, women, and children together into boats. The crew doesn't realize the situation is that serious. They think the ship will stay afloat. Then, as the gravity becomes clear, the rule changes to women and children first. By then, it's too late. You watch men being pulled out of lifeboats. You watch desperate faces as people realize they're not getting on a boat. Fourth myth: the ship was going too fast and couldn't see the iceberg. You're standing on deck, and there's another truth nobody wants to hear. It's 1830. You're in your cabin. The radio room of the Titanic receives a warning from another ship, the SS Californian. Icebergs ahead, reduce speed. The Titanic's radio operator, Jack Phillips, is busy handling passenger messages. He has paid work to do. He responds with, "Shut up, I'm working." He actually says that. He rejects the warning. Here's the part that keeps you awake. The Californian's lights are visible from your deck. They're only 20 kilometers away. If they had heard the distress call, they could have reached you in 20 minutes, but the radio was silent. The captain of the Californian went to sleep thinking he'd done his job. He had no idea that 1,500 people were about to die within his view. Captain Edward Smith is 62 years old. He's been sailing for 60 years. Every ocean has bowed to him. But tonight, standing on the bridge of Titanic, his confidence is his fatal flaw. The ship is marketed as unsinkable. White Star Line, the company that owns Titanic, is investing its reputation in this vessel. The operators tell Smith, "This ship is too modern. There's no need to slow down, no need to worry." Smith makes 3 fatal decisions. First, maintain full speed. Second, downplay the warnings. Third, trust the ship's design completely. Each decision costs lives. You don't know this yet, but the ship's engines make a critical error. The bow thrusters are activated in reverse. This pushes the ship forward and down, right into the iceberg's path. The stern engines never activate. If they had, the ship could have turned or braked. Instead, the technical error doubles the braking speed of the hull. It's the difference between 40 minutes to sink and 2 hours and 40 minutes to sink. It costs 1,000 lives. It's 2020, the collision. You feel it, a soft scraping sound. Nothing catastrophic. Most people don't even wake up, but 6 compartments are flooding. The Titanic was designed to survive 4 compartments being flooded. The system fails immediately. You don't know this yet. Nobody does. Captain Smith takes 1 hour and 40 minutes to admit we're going to sink. By that time, it's too late. Now comes the part that destroys you when you learn the truth later. Titanic has 20 lifeboats. They can hold maybe 1,300 people. There are 1,500 people on board. Simple math, 200 people will die. It's tragic but survivable. But here's what happens. Captain Smith orders the lifeboats not to be filled completely. Why? He's terrified the lifeboats haven't been tested. He's afraid the ship's weight will crush them if they're too full. So they load the boats at 50 to 60% capacity. Empty seats dangle above the water. 6 lifeboats are never even used. They drift away into the darkness, empty, while people around you scream and beg for rescue. 6 lifeboats, 60 people each, 360 lives that could have been saved. Gone. You watch as people board lifeboats, women and children first. You watch men being ordered back onto the deck. You watch the lifeboats lower into the black water. You watch them row away from the ship, and you realize there's no boat left for you. It's 11:40 p.m. The bow is completely underwater. The stern, where you're standing, is rising at an angle that seems impossible. 45 degrees, 60 degrees, 80 degrees. You're holding on to anything bolted to the deck. Around you, people are sliding across the tilted surface, screaming. Some jump, some hold on.
Then you hear it, the sound of the ship breaking, metal tearing. The structural integrity of the ship gives up. The bow section, already underwater, tears away from the stern. You're on the stern. You watch the bow plunge downward into the darkness. It hits the bottom of the ocean, 12 kilometers down. You're still holding on. The stern is rising higher, almost vertical now. More people jump. The cold water is below you, and it's colder than anything you've ever felt. At 2:20 a.m., the stern sinks. You hit the water, 15 degrees Celsius. Your body goes into shock. Hypothermia sets in within minutes. Your muscles stop responding. Your mind becomes foggy. Around you, 1,500 people are experiencing the same thing. Screams, then silence, cold, dark silence. 710 people survive. You are one of them, clinging to debris, waiting for rescue. Now let me tell you something. If you've watched this far, you're one of the 2% of viewers who actually watches until the end. The other 98%, they left the video. They didn't care about the truth. They didn't want to know what really happened. If you want to know more about history, about the real stories that Hollywood hides, hit that subscribe button right now. I'm serious. 98% of people who watch my videos never subscribe. They don't realize that by subscribing, they support the work of bringing real history to light. They don't realize that every subscriber helps me spend more time researching, more time finding the truth, more time creating videos that matter. And if this video made you feel something, anger, sadness, respect for the victims, hit the like button. Let the algorithm know that real history matters. Because here's the truth. Titanic sank because of human decisions, not because of bad luck. Captain Smith made choices. The operators made choices. The engineers made choices. And 1,500 people paid with their lives. Why did the myths form? Because in 1912, White Star Line wanted to protect its reputation. The real reports were hidden for 20 years. Captain Smith couldn't defend himself. He died in the water. The radio operator's heroic last moments were forgotten. The inadequate lifeboats became a question of women first, rather than why weren't there enough boats. The story became a romance instead of a tragedy. In 1997, James Cameron made a film. It was beautiful, it was dramatic, but it changed history. The whole world now sees Titanic through a Hollywood lens. The real facts became fuzzy.
The ship remained hidden on the ocean floor for 73 years. In 1985, when it was finally discovered, the underwater photographs told the truth. The genie broke in two. Water pressure had crushed the structure. The pieces lay 2 kilometers apart on the ocean bottom. Evidence, proof. The myths finally had to face reality. After Titanic, the world changed. All ships were required to have lifeboats for every passenger. This law saved hundreds of thousands of lives in the decades that followed. Radios became mandatory 24/7. Maritime search and rescue protocols were created. Ice patrol systems were established to warn ships about icebergs. But here is the paradox that kills me. The Titanic sank not because of technology, but because of economics. More cabins meant more profit. More lifeboats meant less profit. More caution meant slower speed, meant delayed arrival, meant less money. Human lives were worth less than human greed. 1,500 people died because of decisions made by men in offices counting money. One decision changes everything. One decision to fill the lifeboats completely. One decision to reduce speed when warnings came. One decision to maintain a 24-hour radio watch. One decision to care more about human lives than about profit margins. That's why history matters, because history isn't just about dead people. History is about how we make the same mistakes generation after generation until we learn. The Titanic is still down there, 4 kilometers down, a graveyard, a reminder. Titanic simply sank in water, but the real story? More than 1,500 people died because their lives were worth less than empty lifeboat seats. Do you think Captain Smith was guilty, or was it the system? Write your answer in the comments. Subscribe if you want to see more untold stories. Hit like if history matters to you. And remember, those who don't learn from history are condemned to repeat it. In the next video, we are breaking another myth. See you then.